Hello and welcome to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways, beloved, and that you are staying prayed up, you are staying uplifted, because we are witnessing a revolution of epic proportions kind of popping off across the world, whether you want to believe it's planned or not. There's some spiritual things that cannot be planned or controlled. There's some spiritual beings, let me not get into too deep into it, that cannot be, you can't pull them this way or that way. I know that, the powers that be had hoped for a massive energetic harvest, but what's actually happened is they've kind of opened a Pandora's box that they have no idea how to control. So don't buy too much into the hype. And that's why I say we've got to come up with our own narrative because we have the power to. So let's not have a defeatist mentality where we're constantly, and I've been a victim of this too, where you're constantly thinking the New World Order is doing they've planned this, they're bringing martial law, they're doing this. Because what are we doing? What are our ancestors doing? What are our ancient ones doing? Those are the questions we have to ask. And I know a lot of people have been very surprised at all the Muzungus they've seen, parading around, vandalizing their stuff, and just, acting cray. But, racism is something that came from the Muzungu world, and it's something that they're going to have to, they're going to have to slay that demon because it's totally their own. But those are stories for other days. I really want to give a special shout out to everyone that supports me on Patreon. You guys are absolutely amazing. Go ahead and consider joining for as little as $2 a month. And the song Freedom is still coming, fam. I've just been overwhelmingly busy, but we'll definitely be getting that to you very, very soon. Now, very interesting. All 54 African nations have actually called for racism, for a urgent racism debate at the United Nations Human Rights Council. And I know, the UN, we say it's a wing of the New World Order, etc., etc. But what touched me about this story, what really, like, I was here, like, just tears hovering on the eyes, is that, Floyd's family and relatives of other victims, as well as nearly 600 NGOs, had written to the United Nations Human Rights Council, which publicly debates and then, sanctions and all this stuff, and UN soldiers can be sent to the divided states, things like that. Those are the kind of decisions they're made. Although the United Nations, we have to remember that, 5 countries have vetoes. So and that's why it's been like the 5 superpowers, and they really control the narrative and make sure that they're never attacked. And the divided states is one of those countries that has the veto power. No African nation has a veto power, but we do have 54 countries. So now Floyd's family, relatives, and other victims of police brutality, and about 600 NGOs wrote to the United Nations Human Rights Council, begging them to at least have an emergency debate, emergency hearing on the protests we were seeing, not only in the divided states, but across the world against police brutality. But in order for for the council to even consider their request, they needed one nation, just one, to kind of come and back them up, or to put, to co-sign. And I was so touched that it was not just one nation that did it, but all 54 African nations. I mean, this just makes me emotional because this shows our solidarity, fam. Like, don't let anyone tell you that we're not together and we're not united. This blood and this melanin runs deep, and this just, regardless of whether, UN, whether anything, this just showed, like, it really touched my heart. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. And, the ambassador who was putting it together was actually the ambassador from Benin. And he said, Dionde Desire Sugua. He's the one who wrote the letter to the council that got the signature of every African nation. Every African president signed this. And the letter basically requested for the debate to be held next week when the council's 43rd session resumed after being stalled by the coronavirus pandemic. And, the letter was actually written by Burkina Faso's ambassador to the UN in Geneva. And it's just, and he urged, there was a need for an urgent debate on racially inspired human rights violations, police brutality against people of African descent, and the violence against the peaceful protests that call for these injustices to stop. And, this is a step, as much as we're part of the matrix. So as much as a lot of people I saw on Twitter talking about this story saying, what can we achieve through the UN, et cetera, we're part of the matrix. So at least as everyone's rioting and protesting over here, let the governments also be handling the governmental protocols over here. But for me, it was just such a beautiful solidarity, because it could have taken just Burkina Faso. It could have taken just Kenya. It could have just taken Nigeria to get the support that, the African-American families and victims of police brutality, the necessary signature they needed to even be considered by the UN Human Rights Council. But we saw every country in Africa signing on and showing their solidarity and the support. And this is just the beginning of amazing solidarity and support that we're going to be seeing. I can't even speak. I'm so emotional that we're going to be seeing across the African continent. This is our time. The reunification, the restoration have already begun. The revival has been going on in earnest. There is a massive spiritual warfare going on, which we will ultimately be the victors of, whether we're the victors today, whether we're the victors tomorrow, or whether we're the victors in a year's time. This is our victory. No one can take it away from us. Until next time, tuko pamoja.
I'm serious because
She don't want to be left out.
I'm serious because the reality is he's saying religion is not important. And what's real is that spirituality is what's missing from us. The Eye of Horus, okay, which is the origin of every religion, is actually just a depiction of your pineal gland. Therefore, that would mean that this whole all-knowing eye that's looking around at everything is you, looking at you, in you, and this is the solution, to tune in. We need to meditate. We need to cleanse ourselves of negative energy. Stop allowing this system to dictate who we are. You're fueling it just by getting up every day and going to work. I'm telling you. Okay, yes, you need money to sustain life, okay? But you don't have to work to feed this system. This is the matrix. That prison they talk about, you born unto, can't see, smell, touch, or hear. That is this all around you. Look at the consumerism. This is a consumer-based economy. Why are black people so at the target and forefront of it? Is because we consume the most. You know why? Because we're spirits first. So don't tell me, oh, stop talking about spirituality, because that's the source of where we come from. Without spirituality, we won't exist.
Talk that talk.
Before physics was the metaphysics. Before the metaphysics was the astronomy. Before the astronomy was the astrology. All of this is in you. Whether you know it or not, those Akashic records they talk about, that's not an actual library with books in it. That's in here. In your DNA, in the blood, those little black dots. I don't know the scientific name for it, but it's in your blood. It's information that you collected life cycle to life cycle. But see, a lot of us are not ready for this information. We want to stay in the Jesus programming. We hope Jesus going to fly down one day and just stop all this, but he's not. You know why? Because he don't exist. And they got the idea of Jesus from your black ass. Okay? They took what your ancestors taught them, hid it from you, and now they're using it to manipulate you. Steal your children, steal your identity. That's the whole secret to the secret, is that they are stealing your spirit, stealing your energy, using you to fuel themselves, their own existence. They don't even belong here. They are technically a recessive gene. They have a expiration date. You do not. You are immortal. They don't want you to know that. They want you to go to school and learn a little bit of bullshit. The kids ain't even learning cursive writing no more. Why? Penmanship is the end-all, be-all to existence. If you don't know how to write, you can't do nothing. Why does my child not know how to write cursive writing? Why are they taking the penmanship out? That's the source of creation, writing. Where do you think the first book came from? Somebody's mind. And guess how they got those thoughts? Through meditation, from the cosmos. Why you think they can't figure out how they built the pyramids? Why are they so indestructible? That's metaphysics. That's what they not giving us. But guess what? We taking it back. Because there's an awakening in the mist. Tonight is a full moon. Meditate in it. Cleanse yourself of that negative energy. Stop watching that television. Turn that radio off. Stop eating these genetically modified organisms that they got for your ass to transmutate into what they want you to be, which is nothing. Okay, because that's what they are, and they know that, and that's why they need you to be where they at, so they can try to figure you out, but they not never going to do it. Watch that movie Interstellar. It tells you how they have an expiration date. If we're not here, the earth will naturally cleanse itself of its parasites. I'm done.
All right, hold on.